Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Winnipeg Jets fans, are you not entertained? Welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brady. I will be your host here today. In a pretty much must-win game, it felt like, for the Winnipeg Jets. They come out on top of the St. Louis Blues 4-2. What an interesting game. This game was far from the perfection that you would hope from the Jets. As, you know, coming into this game, we all know what's been going on behind the scenes. And you know what? Before I dive into all that, let's just get this out of the way because I feel like this one's going to be back-to-back-to-back, items. Think you know which way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live and play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Alrighty, guys. Wow. What a game. What an interesting game to break down. Honestly, the place we have to start is at the end of last game, the Philadelphia game. Also, is my audio sounding okay? I've got some weird levels going on my end. Either way, let me know if anything sounds off. Sorry. So coming to this game, there were a lot of quotes that came out of last game from Rick Bowness. Obviously, the past few showings by the Winnipeg Jets have been less than good. And Rick Bowness, it's nice to have a coach that's going to come out and say what's needed in regards to, letting the team know and letting the media know that this is not acceptable for the Jets. Audio good. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So this, the quotes that came out of last game was mostly in regards to kind of the booing as well as calling out the difference makers for the Jets. I think it is well placed that the difference makers needed to be called out a little bit here tonight, because they've been less than spectacular. That's for sure. Looking at the past few games, Pierre-Luc Dubois has been pretty rough. I found he hasn't been too engaged, especially against the Philadelphia Flyers. It was a very frustrating game for him. All around, Blake Wheeler hasn't been that great. Kyle Connor hasn't been, his dynamic self. Obviously, Nick Ehlers is going up and down the ice as he always is. And Mark Scheifele also, when the goals aren't going in, sometimes gets a little frustrated. And the entire team has seemed frustrated over the past few weeks here. Things have kind of all... where the downfall kind of started for the Winnipeg Jets, I would say, is probably around the Tampa game. That was the game, of course, we get back the cavalry, having, 4 guys coming back to the lineup all at once. Having Perfetti, Wheeler, Ehlers, and Schmidt all come back to the lineup all at once. And I think that kind of changed a little bit of the vibe around the team. Prior to that, the thing that was really driving the Winnipeg Jets was the fact that they had guys on every line that were willing to work. A lot of the guys in the bottom 6 were, they were all kind of fighting for their spots on the lineup, and there was a good competition going around. There was a spot in the top 6 that was up for the taking, that was constantly getting guys cycled in and out, which I think provided the Jets a healthy competitive environment to try and, suss out who are the guys that need to be on this team, who need to be on the roster. And looking at how everything has gone since then, it seems like the Jets have been kind of, infantilized by the fact that they can, outskill other teams. Whereas Rick Bowness, as he said, one of the quotes that he came from, he said, right now, we're going through a spell where right now, we're going through a spell that as soon as the adversity kicks in, we're going on our own program, which was the problem all of last year. We thought we had corrected it. Now we have to correct it again, and we will. And again, continuing on with the quotes from him, that's all the fans want to see, a 60-minute effort. Right now, the process just isn't good enough, and the effort isn't good enough. That's all our fans want to see, so they're justified in their booing. Obviously, there were plenty of boos in the past few games against the Sabres as well as against the Flyers. And I think all of that was justified. And then of course you have, Rick Bowness pulling Connor Hellebuyck with giving him a mercy pulling. Everything around the Jets has been kind of cratering, and it almost was approaching the point where we need to hit the panic button. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but tonight at least was a bit of a grounding experience. We, take the DEFCON level down one. The Jets were actually able to come out tonight, play through the adversity that they faced. Jordan Binnington played really well all game, and despite that, the Jets found a way to win. And, good teams, they find a way to win. So, getting back to everything, we had some very interesting lineup combinations coming to the game. Other things of note, just to mention really quickly, Kyle Capobianco comes into the lineup for Logan Stanley. I think that was probably the right move. Logan Stanley's kind of had a couple rough games in a row, and so not a bad thing to sit him down and, let him have a watch from up above. And, Axel Jonsson-Fjallby once again out of the lineup, which I still don't think is a great choice. I think he's been one of the better players in the bottom six for the Jets as of late. And there's other guys who I've been ragging on, notably Saku Manalainen, who, I'll be honest, man, he had a good game today. I'll get into that very shortly. But, the difference makers were called out by Rick Bowness. Again, going back to the quotes, saying, some players seemingly didn't want to play tonight. Singles out the difference makers as being invisible. Can't find them. Asked about the boos. I'm surprised there weren't more. Again, this is all quotes coming off of the Philadelphia game. So we know the context that we're in coming into this game. And we get some very particularly interesting lines to start the game. We got Barron matched up with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Saku Manalainen. You have Kyle Connor with Mark Scheifele and Carson Kuhlman. Cole Perfetti with Adam Lowry and Blake Wheeler. And then Nikolai Ehlers relegated to what I would consider the fourth line. I mean, all these lines are kind of spread out with Kevin Stenlund and Sam Gagner. So there was a big reaction on Twitter in regards to this, and I don't blame anyone whatsoever. I had the same reaction. Again, I think I tweeted out something along the lines of, boy, these sure are lines. Yep. These are forward lines for sure. Very interesting choice. What I see here, honestly, going back to what I was saying in regards to, when there was a little bit less skill in the lineup, the Jets actually were focused on really working for their wins. They were really earning their cookies. And I think what the goal of this was to try and jumpstart the guys, letting them know, hey, Pierre-Luc Dubois, you're not going to have Kyle Connor beside you to rely on for you guys just making nice little passes. And then if that doesn't happen and those get intercepted, then you guys can't do anything. I'm putting you with two grinders. You have to work. I want you working today. And we'll get into it, but I actually think that this worked for the Jets. And going down the lineup again, there was no more than, one or two guys on a line, which I think is actually a good strategy. However, Nikolai Ehlers should not be in your bottom six ever. But I have more on him later. We will talk about it. So I think that the idea around this was to just, take away the talent that everyone had around them and force them into a hard-nosed lunch pail, work your 9 to 5 kind of shift where, you're not just talent and skilling your way through everything. You actually have to put in a good effort and work for your pucks, work for your goals. The Jets came out to a pretty good start. Like I will say, like, I thought that the Jets played pretty decently this game. I think the lineups were not great. But we'll get into that shortly. I kind of have my summary of the game divvied up into a couple different things. So we're going to start with the good. We'll get to the bad and maybe the ugly at the end. We'll see about timing. But as far as the good goes for this game, the Jets outplayed the Blues. I mean, the Blues are a team that is kind of approaching the point where they are likely going to be a seller at the deadline. It was really interesting to see, how this game went, considering both teams were on a bit of a losing skid coming into this. And, you know, I will say, I despite the fact that the Blues are not the best team, I think that the Jets did very well tonight, and especially not to get overwhelmed. Continuing on the good stuff, looking at just general expected goals numbers, the Jets did really well, even at 5v5. If you're big into the money puck, deserve to win a meter, the Jets were sitting at a cool 4.49 expected goals compared to the Blues 2.18. So almost doubling them there. Jordan Binnington played really well tonight, but also at the same time, I don't think that the Jets were doing, probably their best to get the best chances on, but I think that they were still trying to figure things out, especially with the new lines, and getting back into the swing of things. The other thing I need to praise, I think Rick Bowness has found something with Morgan Barron and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Like, those two together, especially tonight, were phenomenal. I have absolutely loved what Morgan Barron has brought to the table recently for the Jets. Throughout this entire skid, he's been one of the players who I've been, I think, constantly on this show, been like, every night he's coming out and working hard. Every night he's coming out and, he's battling in the corner. He's winning puck battles. He's one of the few bright spots that we have been seeing on this Winnipeg Jets teams throughout this entire skid. And putting him with a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, I mean, from the start of the season, I was really big on seeing Morgan Barron with Adam Lowry. I think both of them together, they played well in having, again, this possession kind of styled third line that is able to get the puck into the opposing zone, apply pressure, and at very worst, keep the puck in the opponent's zone. If you do that, you can't get any shots against. So I think that they've been really good at controlling the expected goals kind of with that pairing with Lowry and Morgan Barron together. But, additionally on that, the pairing that he had tonight with Pierre-Luc Dubois, like, it seemed like there was a nice little chemistry going there. They were constantly finding each other for nice passes. Saku Manalainen, again, I will give him credit here. I still hold true in my stance that I think that he's a fourth liner, if not a replacement level player, who is good on the PK and doesn't really bring a lot at 5v5. However, tonight he had a really, really good game. He was good on the breakouts, directly led to one of Morrissey's goals. Right? Yeah, directly. I think he led to the Morrissey goal, where he just kind of flung it into the middle and it went in off of Braden Shen. And same thing, he had a lot of chances in front, a lot of slot chances. He kind of reminded me of how that one game that Carson Kuhlman had way back when he was playing with Scheifele and Connor at the time. I'm not sure if Connor was with him or not, or maybe Perfetti. And everyone was kind of getting on Carson Kuhlman for his lack of finish. But what I was saying on the show was you at least got to give him credit for getting to those spots, creating that space, and having that chemistry to get in the locations. And sometimes you just kind of played above where you should be played in the lineup. And, I wouldn't say that Saku Manalainen is a top 6 guy, nor would I say that Carson Kuhlman is. But I will give him credit. He had a good game today. But I really think that the Jets have found something with Morgan Barron and Pierre-Luc Dubois together. Those two guys, two big bodies, are able to get into the opposing zones, dictate play, create some offense. And I think that Morgan Barron has a scoring touch that we haven't seen quite yet. If he keeps putting himself into those spots to, get those passes from Pierre-Luc Dubois or setting Pierre-Luc Dubois up or whichever winger they're with, that could be a huge sign, a huge relief for the Jets, having someone who, in the meantime, before the trade deadline, can play potentially in your top 6. That allows you to drop Wheeler down. And, that kind of leads me to my next point. We got to see Wheeler with Adam Lowry tonight. I thought that Wheeler didn't have his greatest game, but, excuse me, I wouldn't pin that on his lineup, like, being with Lowry or anything like that. I didn't think it had to do anything with chemistry. In my opinion, it was more on the basis of, he just wasn't really moving his feet. There were a couple times in the offensive zone where, as soon as the puck was gone from him, he just kind of stopped skating. And there was one where a D-man stole the puck from him. and then ended up Wheeler is standing a couple feet from him, and he just kind of stopped playing and just skated off. It is what it is. Sometimes you're at the end of your shift. I could be wrong here. Maybe they were getting called for a line change, but I would like to see a little bit more effort. But regardless, the ability to drop Wheeler down in the lineup will always be good. The less minutes he plays, the better, in the sense of he can then go out and play harder for the minutes that he's getting. I think that he fits well with Lowry, both two big bodies who are able to go, and again, possession. That's what good hockey teams do. They possess the puck, they get good shots, on and on and on. So I thought that was very, very good. I will give Rick Bowness a thumbs up from me on that. I was happy with that. And then my final point I want to say that was, the good. The Jets kept with the game. We've seen constantly now, the Jets just kind of slowly fall out of it and kind of lose their momentum. Whenever they lose their momentum or any sort of their confidence gets kind of, gets stifled, it seems like it just shatters. Like as soon as, the Jets aren't able to get, a goal, they get a couple nice chances, they get stopped by the opposing goalie. Carter Hart made how many nice saves the other night, and after that, the Jets were just deflated. They just weren't able to do anything. Whereas tonight, the goal in the the goal in the second period that, that started off for the Blues, which I have to say, Josh Morrissey had a great night, at least in the third period. Most of the night he was pretty good. I got to give him a little bit of shit on the first goal, where who is it? Jake Neighbors kind of gets in behind both Pionk and Morrissey. Pionk gets a stick on the puck, but then Morrissey chases after Jake Neighbors. But as soon as he sees Jake Neighbors might be offside, throws his arm up, looks back at the ref, throws his arm up, looks back at the ref. He stops playing. I don't think that necessarily Josh Morrissey for sure stops that goal from happening. But you play to the whistle. Like, that's one of the first things you're taught. I know Josh Morrissey knows that. But it is what it is. Not great. He redeemed himself, of course, in the third period, but that was one I felt like I needed to give him a little bit of shit on. Because you can't just stop playing, man. You can't just throw your arm up and go, oh, it's offside. And also, I'm pretty sure, based on my reffing knowledge, that would have been a goal regardless of if Jake Neighbors was offside. The way it works in the NHL is whoever has the last touch on the puck. It's not possession based. I know in minor hockey, if the defending team brings it back into their own zone, the offside is waved off. In the NHL, I think you can just touch it and it'll come back in. So the touch that Neil Pionk has off of his stick and then it goes into the zone, I believe, I could be wrong. I'm not 100% on my NHL offside rules, but I'm pretty sure that still would have counted even if Jake Neighbors was offside. But regardless, this is all to say, you got to stay with your man. But regardless, even after that, even after the 2-0 goal where, got to give Capobianco a little bit of crap on this one. Sandberg holds the line for probably a little bit too long. It's a bit of a 2-on-1 instead of just, allowing Sandberg to play his man on the way back and try to put pressure from behind. Capobianco tries to smother the player coming up the boards. He makes a nice pass to a wide open. I won't be able to remember the guy's name, unfortunately. It was one of the names where I'm like, ooh, I haven't heard that one in a while, or I haven't heard that one much. And again, 2-0. But again, this is the good section. This isn't the bad. I know I kind of said a couple of the bad things in here. But the one thing I'll say is the Jets stayed with it. The Jets kept playing. This was right at the start of the third period. The Jets team that played against the Flyers, the Jets team that played against the Sabres, this would have been the nail in the coffin. And that's the only thing I have to say here, is that would have been the nail in the coffin. And now we're looking at a game where the Jets win 4-2. They come back to make a great comeback. Big shout out to Josh Morrissey. He's been one of the MVPs of the team, obviously. Still campaigning for his Norris. Josh Morrissey this year. A great goal to finally break the Jets shutout streak of 103 minutes and 25 seconds. Yikes. Not good. And that was also a great response to, what's his name? Nikolai Ehlers potentially getting hurt was kind of scary. And it was good to see Morrissey kind of do it to Falk after he slashes Nick Ehlers and potentially hurts him. But everything's good. He's okay. And then again, same thing. They just keep on it. They kept on it. They kept on it. They kept on it. There was, the goal that was scored to, tie the game up was just a nice, a long possession that the Jets had. The Scheifele Ehlers, Connor line did great at keeping the puck in the zone. And when it came back, simple thing for Nikolai Ehlers. All he does is just turn it back up the ice, brings it back in with an easy controlled entry. It's what he does. He's a free zone entry. And just a great game all around. In the sense of the Jets didn't back down. They kept playing despite Jordan Binnington coming up big for the Blues, despite the Blues having a 2-0 start over the Jets. They come back to win 4-2. You got to give them credit. And again, not a perfect game. The Jets still had some faults tonight. My main issue is with the power play. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to take a moment to have a little sip of water here. I apologize. And I'll read the chat and see if anyone has anything to say here. Give me one moment. Apologies. Noah Laforte, coming in as one of the chat MVPs these days. Post-game quotes, I really appreciate it. That's easily one of my least favorite things about doing the stream almost immediately after the game. It's tough to get those quotes in. Post-game quotes, Mark Scheifele on Josh Morrissey. He was freaking fantastic tonight. I can already picture how he said it. The classic Mark Scheifele frickin'. And then another one via Mike McIntyre. Josh Morrissey says he blacked out after his first goal and isn't quite sure what came over him during his let's fucking go celebration. Says he was just trying to get the team and the crowd into it. And you know what? Well done. He absolutely did it. Like that was a sign of life that was so needed by the Jets. And it was fantastic to see the Canada Life Center who, started the game after a couple of power plays, started booing. This is a nice little segue back into it, but boy, oh boy, the power play was not great tonight. I'm trying to look it up here really quickly. I'll have it in a moment. But the Jets had a lot of power plays tonight. I think they had 7, 8. And I thought that they did pretty brutal on them. My biggest gripe. Why is Blake Wheeler playing on the first power play over Nikolai Ehlers? And this is going to spark a bigger conversation about Nikolai Ehlers and his usage here. I don't understand. So the Jets get a 4-minute power play to start the game. Pretty early on after Kyle Connor gets high sticked. This is when Wheeler starts on PP1. I don't know if this was like just an audible because Kyle Connor wasn't allowed to start the power play because he was he still had blood coming down his face. Excuse me. But yeah, the power play was not good. The Jets were able to get a decent amount of possession. They only got one shot over their first 4-minute power play. And my biggest issue was that Blake Wheeler, every time he got the puck, there was 2 or 3 times where he forced these passes that just didn't really do anything for the Jets. There was one where he tried forcing it into the middle of the slot, did absolutely nothing for the Jets. They picked it off really easily, and it just seemed like he wasn't, making the poised passes that we're used to seeing from Blake Wheeler on the power play of years past. So that was one thing that was very frustrating. I thought he looked awful on the power play. One thing I wrote really that was good. We saw an Ehlers zone entry, which is again the biggest thing on the power play is you got to get the puck into the zone with control. You have one guy on the team who does that flawlessly every single time. He should be your guy on the first power play every single time to carry the puck up the ice because he cannot be stopped. And if he is getting stopped, he's getting swarmed. He just dumps it in. You have 2 or 3 guys who are able to, pounce on one guy in the corner. You should be able to get that puck back immediately. And then PP2 was just brutal. I don't know what it is about power play 2. They just can't get it together. There was one point here in the second or in the game where the second power play actually looked pretty decent. You want to know why? It's because Nick Ehlers got bumped down. As I said, Kyle Connor wasn't really able to join the first power play on that 4-minute power play to start the game. But then after they decide to take Nick Ehlers off of PP1 and leave Blake Wheeler there. Again, I don't think that Blake Wheeler deserved that, considering he was one of the reasons why the puck wasn't, why play was getting broken up. So that was very frustrating, I found. But maybe it's a way to try and get the second power play going, because the second power play has been kind of like really, really bad all year. And so it's been very frustrating to watch that, but it is what it is. Despite that, the Jets still played well. And then again, I think this should kind of sparks a bigger topic on the Winnipeg Jets of the usage of Nikolai Ehlers. I have no idea tonight why Nikolai Ehlers was saddled with that fourth line duty. I get that Rick Bowness was trying to send a message to, his difference makers. But, sending him to the fourth line to play with Kevin Stenlund and Sam Gagner, as much as I've praised Kevin Stenlund, that's a much different sentencing than, saddling, Scheifele and Connor with Carson Kuhlman, who, they've been kind of put together as a line before as well. That doesn't seem like as much of a doghouse, but just kind of, what's left to fill the rest of the lineup. Same thing with dropping Ehlers and, Wheeler and Perfetti down to play with Lowry. Again, that's, almost testing for a potential third line if the Jets make a couple moves, right? So I do not understand why he was the one who was in the doghouse. I think, if anything, it should have been Pierre-Luc Dubois. But Pierre-Luc Dubois, while getting saddled with two guys who are, bottom six guys, was still played like a first-line center. So I don't get why in the first period the Nikolai Ehlers only gets 3 minutes and 58 seconds of time on ice. Excuse me. I'm speaking too quickly. I'm getting hiccups. The 2 minutes and 7 seconds at 5v5, where Nikolai Ehlers is like provenly, historically, the best Jet player at 5v5, as well as on the power play. In case you didn't know, Nikolai Ehlers is really, really good. I digress. He can't be getting used like that. I was glad that after the first period, Rick Bowness decided to finally put him back up with Connor and Scheifele. I want to say Connor and Dubois. I'm so used to it by now. But who knows? Now this was kind of the super line that we kind of envisioned at the start of the year. If Morgan Barron can play well with Pierre-Luc Dubois, maybe throw Perfetti on that line, and then you can kind of play that super line of Scheifele, Connor, and Ehlers. That's not too bad going forward. And then, again, you get Blake Wheeler in the bottom six, which, again, allows you to have more effective minutes by him. You can play him a little bit less, but that means you can go even harder in the minutes that he's being given, and you can give him a bit more of a role rather than just kind of being this, guy who's a top six guy who kind of isn't a top six guy and has kind of fell off a little bit, kind of lost his step, but he's still, anyways. So that was very, very frustrating for me, but it is what it is. The Jets go on to win 4-2. And yeah, this was a big win. It felt like a must win going into the All-Star break. It wasn't a perfect game, but that's okay. Not every game is going to be perfect. All I will say is we saw a stepping stone to get back to seeing the team that we saw earlier in the year, which is all I've wanted over the past two games, the very, very frustrating games, the Sabres and the Philadelphia Flyers. Again, the Jets needed to win tonight, and not only for the fact of, providing some sort of stepping stone into becoming the force of a team that they were earlier in the season, but to prove to the fans that, this is a new team, that we're not just running off of vibes. The boos were warranted. The Jets have been playing like shit. And we're past the honeymoon phase. Like, this isn't the Jets of 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, where we're just happy to be here. Fans are upset. Fans want to see their team win. Like, we're sick of mediocrity, and we have a higher standard now. We've seen what this Jets team can do, and it's just about getting back to that level. Maybe providing a little bit of help from some trades from Mr. Cheveldayoff would be really helpful, but I'm just glad to see, as a fan, that, we weren't crazy for believing that this team can be good, that this team can handle adversity, that they don't shatter at the slightest bit of adversity against them. So I'm very happy to see that. I'm going to finish off talking a little bit about trades really quickly. Before I do, though, please give us a like on the old stream. We'd really appreciate it. We got a decent amount of people in here today. I'm going to take a look at the chat really quickly here. PLD has been invisible for a while. I completely agree. Missed the game. What were those lines? Couldn't tell you, buddy. But hey, they Rick Bonus figured it out in the end. He sent his message, and hopefully we don't have to resort to doing this again. But yeah, okay. Trade deadline. Bo Horvat is now a New York Islander. In a trade that I thought was a little underwhelming, but at the same time, I don't really know what the Islanders are doing. On both sides, I have no idea how this happened, because this screams the return is fine. What they got, they ended up getting a top 12 protected first, Aturatu. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. It was kind of like a B-level prospect, as well as Anthony Beauvillier. Again, they could probably move Anthony Beauvillier at this deadline or next. But really, I want to talk about this because of the ramifications for the Jets. Sorry, before I get into that, one final comment. The reason I'm confused about this deal is I don't know why it happened now. That package for Bo Horvat doesn't seem like enough for you to pull the trigger right this second and be like, that's the trade. We got to lock that in. But it is what it is. I'm not smarter than any GM. I'm not smarter than Patrick Allvin. I'm not smarter than Jim Rutherford. But it is what it is. Continuing on, though, what does this mean for the Jets? Well, now one of the big pieces is off the table. So this can have two effects on the market. First of all, one of the big fish is gone, which means naturally everyone now is going to be fighting for what is left, which is Timo Meier, of course. So that likely will drive the price of Timo Meier up, but also at the same time seeing the kind of limited return that the Canucks end up getting for Bo Horvat kind of sets the market price, which I don't really think is. I would lean more to the side of this raises the prices for a Timo Meier, for a Ryan O'Reilly, for whoever it is you're looking for. So it'll be really interesting to see what the Jets do. I think regardless, I think we all can agree that the Jets likely need some help up front in, kind of the middle six, likely a middle six winger. And we can probably all agree that it wouldn't be a bad idea to get another shutdown defenseman. The big thing is, in regards to defensemen, the way I see it, I don't care how big the guy is. All I want for him to do is corral the puck, shut down the opponent's offense, and make a clean breakout pass. Because that is all that the Jets need, is someone who can get the puck out of their zone. The forwards can cook, and with an addition, can cook even more. So a guy like a Matt Dumba. Matt Dumba is the guy who I've been looking at a lot recently. He's a UFA at the end of the year. I don't really know what the Wild are going to do with him because they are also kind of in a playoff spot. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens going forward. Another reason why why tonight was a must-win is because every team behind the Jets is catching up on them. So, in my opinion, the Jets got to make a trade sooner rather than later. But we'll see what ends up happening. Luckily, now we are at the All-Star break. The Jets can kind of, take this win to the bank, feel good about it. The coaching staff can kind of analyze and think, what did we do good? What is going to be our identity going forward? What do we need to keep focusing in on? What do we need to stop allowing our team to do in order for us to succeed? And the Jets can go on their vacation, enjoy it, not really sit and wonder, what's going on. They can feel a little bit more confident in where they're at. And now, again, balls in the court of Chevy for the next week and a bit. The Jets don't get back in action till the 11th, I think, of February. I could be wrong on that one. I'm just looking ahead to see because, again, I get a little break, which is nice. The Jets are back on the 11th against the Chicago Blackhawks. It is a 9 p.m. game here in Winnipeg. Alyssa will be doing that show for you guys. I'll be busy, unfortunately. But enjoy your guys' break here. I think we all could use a little mental health break from the Winnipeg Jets. They've been kind of straining on the mental a little bit recently, at least for myself. I was kind of dreading the game all day today just because I wasn't expecting much, but I am pleasantly surprised at how it went. Again, not a perfect game, but they, it's just a step to building to what can be potentially a contender team. I still believe that they have it. I still think with the right moves that they could go real far in the playoffs. I really hope to be celebrating with you guys at Portage in Maine at some point here soon. But regardless, thank you all for tuning in to Game Over Winnipeg. Please enjoy your time off from some hockey. Make sure you stay warm. It's been real cold out. And have yourselves a great week. Enjoy your weekend. If you're tuning into the All-Star game, tweet us out. Let us know what you're thinking about all the Jets players. Obviously Connor Hellebuck will be there. Josh Morrissey will be there. Follow me on Twitter at NHL Chunky. Follow Alyssa at Liz Hood. And of course follow SDPN Sports on Twitter. Check out Alyssa and I both did a I Can't Teach Size episode. That's our own podcast. Off to the side, we talk a little bit more about everything going on around the NHL, but of course it is mostly from a Jets perspective. We do a little bit of a trade deadline primer, so let us know what you thought of where we said each player would be going. And again, a lot of that is said from the Winnipeg perspective, so check it out if you need a little trade deadline primer. Again, it's at Can't Teach Size. But regardless, thank you all for tuning in. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay warm. We'll see you on the other side of the All-Star break as we get into the last little stretch of the season. Thank you all for tuning in.
Powered by Sports Interaction.